All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our discussion on linear functions. My name is Rush Mahaber, and what we're going to talk about today is something that is fairly review. It's to a point where I really don't even discuss it in class because it is something that is part of Math 1800. It is part of, which is pre-calculus, obviously, and it is part of a lot of things that we do when we talk about a class that deals with elementary functions. So the first kind of functions I really want to talk about are straight lines, or what we like to call linear functions. Okay, so linear functions are, without a better way of saying it, are probably the number one thing that we use to determine everything from statistical analysis. So if you take a stats class, they always talk about linear regression, right? Take a whole bunch of data points and try to figure out the best fit straight line, or anything along those lines. But it all comes down to a couple basic concepts, right? And one basic concept is that every straight line has one of these two characteristics. So there's basically two types of straight lines, okay? So it's two types of linear or straight lines. Straight lines. Okay. The first kind is the easy one. I'm going to discuss that one first. The first kind is called vertical lines. Okay, and this should be. There we go. I was trying to put the title in the title spot. Linear functions. Okay, so I've been trying. So the first kind is they call a vertical line. Okay, and this one will be quick, very very quick. So vertical lines don't really have slopes. They do have slopes, but their slope is undefined. And why is that? So let's say I were to draw this line for you right here, and this is going through the point 3, not through 3, 0. Then vertical lines have the equation x equals a number. Okay, simple as that. So what's the equation of this guy? X equals 3. It's really really simple. Now why is that? Okay, and here's something to keep in mind, and I always like to put little accent points for you to realize things. Vertical lines, they have a slope that is undefined. Vertical lines have undefined slopes. And if you don't believe me, then all you got to do is recall the definition of slope. Well, slope, right, most of the time abbreviated as m, that's just y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so let's choose this. So this point right here is what? I don't know. That's definitely 3, 0, but what's this point? I didn't put any hash marks here, so how do you tell? Well, let's call this 3 and then choose it to be something. The point is that I can call it 3 because it's right on top of the other one. It's right on top of it. So what does that have to be? I don't know. Call it 4, call it 5. I don't think it's really going to matter. Why is it not going to matter? Because it's not really when we take away these y values. The y values aren't the thing that's important. It's the same. The fact that these x values are the same. So check this out. We'll end up getting 5 minus 0 over 3 minus 3, which gives us a number on top, which is 3 over 0. Holy moly, that's undefined. And this will happen every time with a vertical line. But that's just your proof. So anytime you see a vertical line, it should be like clockwork. X equals what? What's the number? Well, whatever the heck the x number, excuse me, I can't talk today. Wherever it cuts the x-axis, that's where it's going to have it. So x equals 3. This line would be, if this was negative 5, it would be x equals negative 5. And I guess the best way of documenting is that no matter which one of these you'd pick, if we go back to this line, it'll be 3 something. 3 something. So the best way to call it would just be x equals 3, since it doesn't have a slope. That's the first kind of lines, vertical lines. Now, if we go back to the other kind of line, okay, the other kind of line, number 2, is everybody else. I guess is the best way to put it. Everybody else. Now, who is everybody else? You're probably wondering. Well, every other straight line looks like this: y equals mx plus b, where m is the slope, so y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, and 0b is called the y-intercept. So I'll try to draw you a picture. Oh no, forget that. I'm not drawing you a picture. So since this is a pre-calculus course, you should have had some familiarity with this. So let's go ahead, and I'm going to give you a quick little tidbit before we move on. So in order to find an equation of line, so to find one of these, so to find an equation, you need two things. One, you need one of two sets of descriptions. You either need 2 points, or you need 1 point and a slope. Now, I'm going to conjecture that both of these are actually the same thing. And now what do I mean by they're the same thing? Well, if you were given the first guy 2 points, then what you would do is you'd use the 2 points to find the slope, and then use one of those points to find what's the rest of the line. So let's go ahead and do it real quick, and I'll do a quick example. I'll write as much as possible so you can see it. All right, and here's the question: find the equation of the line with slope 1/3 and going through 3, 4. Okay, so in the end of the day, you start with your most general form. So here's your solution, or here's the answer. You start with the most general form of a linear line, which is this. Now, because you know it has a slope and not an undefined slope, you know you're not dealing with a vertical line, you're dealing with a normal line. So I'm just going to plug it in here. So notice we go from the general line to this guy. Now, why is this not a suitable equation? Because there's an infinite amount of lines with slope 1/3. But there's only one line going through 3, 4, which is like right here, and this guy with slope 1/3. That's the guy we're looking for. So who is he? Well, we're going to use this point to plug it into this line and then figure out what our y-intercept is going to be. So we plug in 3 for the x, 4 for the y, and it should be magical. I'm hoping. Yeah, it wasn't until I started taking statistics class much later in my math career that I realized that straight lines and linear algebra is really what it's called, is probably more important than any other kind of algebra that we deal with. So we find the speed. So what do we do? So what is the overall answer? The answer is this. Y equals 1/3 is the slope we have, x plus the b of 3. Done and done. It's really not hard at all. Okay, so you just got to be able to do the same stuff you used to do in Math 1050. Now there are a couple things that I'm not going to, or intermediate algebra with the trig, which is Math 1050 at Wayne State University. So here's a couple of descriptions about straight lines that I think you guys should know. So recall two kinds of lines: parallel lines and what are parallel lines? Parallel lines in your mind should already say one thing to you, that if two lines are parallel, they have the same slope. So same slope. Okay? And here's the other one, perpendicular. Now, this is the one that has some stuff with it, okay? The slopes are not the same here. What are they? The slopes are opposites and reciprocal slopes. So let me give you some examples. Ooh, my spelling is not good today. Slopes. Okay? So here's an example of a parallel line. If this is my line, boom, and I say the slope here is 4, and I say this one is parallel, it should not intersect with the other line, but this guy's slope should be who, guys? And everyone should be saying 4. Here is an example of a perpendicular line. Very simple. Perpendicular. If this guy's line is, the slope is 2/3, then if this beautiful character right here is perpendicular, he's going to form a 90 degree with him, which is a big fact, okay? Then his slope is what? Well, it's opposite, which means it's negative, and it's the reciprocal of him, which is 3/2. Done and done. It's really not all that bad. Really not all that bad at all, okay? So when you do this, you could use these details to actually find you a straight line. So this is actually probably going to be the shortest video I've ever put out for you guys. So let's do a quick example, so I'm not too wordy. Here we go. So example. Find the equation of the line, okay, through 1, -1 and perpendicular to the line y equals -3x plus 4. Alright, so first things first, what are we trying to do? We're trying to find the equation of a line. So automatically you should be saying two things to yourself. You need either 2 points or a point in the slope. Okay, that's what in order to find any equation of any line, unless it's vertical, you either need 2 points or a point in the slope. So let's see what they gave us. Keep reading. So find the equation of a line through 1, -1. So they gave us a point. I either need another point or I need a slope. Okay, so let me keep reading. So they gave me a point. We'll see what else they give me. And perpendicular to the line that. What is that? Okay, it's a line. But what did they just give me? They gave you a slope. You just got to work a little bit for it. By saying that it's perpendicular to this line, they actually told me the slope of my line. My line is the opposite reciprocal of this slope. So this slope here, which is -3, I now know the slope that my line has to have is going to be opposite, which makes it positive, reciprocal, 1/3. That easy, and goes through the point 1, -1. It should be an easy ball game from here. So y equals 1/3 x plus b. Plug in 1, -1. And then we should be able to solve this with no issues if I know how to add fractions. And then subtract the fraction over gives me -4/3. How did I do that? I found a CD. And then that means my equation on my line is y equals 1/3 x minus 4 over 3. Done and done. So linear functions and straight lines really are not all that bad, okay, guys? So biggest thing is just got to stay structured and always looking deep about the protocol. I know this is not very all that interesting, but it's a good review for the things that are to come. So, once again, this is Russian Mahabra. If you're going to go anywhere you haven't been before, you're going to have to do some things you haven't done, guys. So push hard, keep working, keep grinding hard, and I will see you on the next video.